He's coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States of America.
Woo!
It's so good to see everybody. And I'll hand the mic over to our next president.
When I say Iowa, you say vote gang. Iowa. Vote gang. Iowa. Vote gang. Iowa. Vote gang.
Hello, Ames. It's great to be here. Woo! Gotta say, it is much warmer in here than out there. Because there's so many beautiful humans in this office.
Yeah.
What office have we claimed here? It's like some kind of climbing gym. Instead of those little knobs, it's math house. Know what I mean? But when you walk in, when you run in, and there are all of these like things on the wall, like weapons or like things you take, I feel like that's all. Some kind of drill, and everyone will be like, "Go in and get your math hat." Everyone runs in here, gets the math hat off the wall, and runs back out. That's pretty much real, actually. That is what we're all gonna do. It's so tremendous to be here. Thank you for attending this office opening. How many of you have seen me speak before in some context? Most of you have not, so I'm gonna break it down. That makes me so happy. So those of you who have not seen me speak and are just here to check it out, what brought you here? Was it a TV ad? No, not a one. We wasted all that money. So what was it? Someone tell me.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
It is Joe Rogan. Sam Harris. Oh, that's beautiful.
The Breakfast Club.
I was just Breakfast Club. Love it. This is how people get their information nowadays. H3?
Twitch.
Yeah. Twitch?
Yeah.
Email.
Email that works too. I was just texting with Sam Harris just now, for those of you who are Sam Harris fans, and I ought to give so much credit to Sam for seeing this campaign from its earliest days. Really, this campaign has been a campaign of the people, by the people. We raised $10 million last quarter in increments of only $30 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's. And what drove you here today, I get the sense, it sounds like it wasn't TV commercials. It certainly wasn't the corporate media, right?
No.
It wasn't the corporate media being like, hey, like this guy. It was your friends, family, people you trust. In some cases, those people are big-time podcasters. That's how this campaign has grown. That's how I stand before you just... What was it? Oh, look at this. It's overflowing. We got to let some more people in.
What's the fire code in here?
Yeah, what is the fire code in here? We're that -1. Like magic. But thanks to people just like you, I'm one of the 7 candidates that qualified for the debate stage next week in Los Angeles. Now, that was a huge achievement. I will be the lone person of color on that stage.
Yeah! Greatest of all time!
Thank you.
It's true.
And the question is, how did the anonymous Asian man no one's ever heard of outperform half a dozen sitting senators, governors, congresspeople to get up on that debate stage? And the way that happened was that I have a sense of the real problems that got Donald Trump elected in the first place. If you live here in Iowa, first you live in a very magical place. Do you know how many Californians each Iowan is worth? 1,000 each. That's right. So you look around this room, there may be 100 of us here. That's like 2.5 football stadiums full of Californians. That is the power in this room right now. That is why the presidential candidates come to you all. That's why I'm here, because you all control the future of the country. It doesn't feel like it. You're just a student, living your life. You're going to work every day, but you all have the power to change the future of this country.
Yeah.
The question is, how did Donald Trump win Iowa by 8 points? How did Donald Trump win at all in 2016? If you turned on cable news, why would you think Donald Trump's our president today?
Russia.
Hillary Clinton.
Russia. Hillary Clinton.
Racist.
Racism. Facebook. the FBI, emails, all mashed together, right? That's the general explanation. But I have a feeling that you all know different. The reason why Donald Trump won Iowa by 8 points is largely because we blasted away 40,000 manufacturing jobs that used to be in this state. And when those manufacturing jobs left, the shopping district also closed, and that town never recovered. I've been to those towns. It was not just here in Iowa. We blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, as well as here. And if that list of states sounds familiar, those are all of the swing states that Donald Trump needed to win and did win. And now that we did a number on those 4 million manufacturing jobs, we are now shifting to retail, call centers, fast food, and eventually truck driving. How many of you have noticed stores closing where you live here in Iowa? And why are those stores closing?
Amazon.
Amazon, one word answer. Amazon's soaking up $20 billion in business every single year. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year?
0.
That is your math, Iowa. 20 billion out, 0 back. 30% of your stores and malls closed. Most common job in Iowa is retail clerk. Average retail clerk's a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $10 an hour. When her store closes, what is her next move going to be?
Cry.
That's a first move.
When you call the customer service line of a big company and you get the bot or software, I'm sure you do the exact same thing I do, which is you dial 000, say human, until you get someone on the line, right? Yep. In 2 or 3 short years, though, the software is going to sound like this. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? What can I do to help you? It's going to be fast, seamless, delightful. What's that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in call centers right now making $14 an hour?
They're gone.
How many of you have noticed self-serve kiosks in a fast food restaurant here in Iowa? They're going to be in every McDonald's in the next 2 years. They start at the front of the house, and they're going to move to the back of the house with robot burger flippers and fry cookers. The real rubber hits the road when we get to the robot trucks. Now, I've been to Iowa 80 in Davenport. How many of you have been there? And I'm sure after you go there, you go for the buffet because it's a really good value. It's a great variety. They say 5,000 people stop at Iowa 80 every day. What happens when the robot trucks don't need to stop anymore? Iowans know this better than most anyone because it started on your farms, then it moved to your factories, now it's on your main streets. You have to stop it before it gets to your highways. You have to see to it that the Amazons of our country aren't paying 0, but instead are paying their fair share.
Yes.
And after we get our fair share from the Amazons of the world, what are we going to do with it? If you were here today, at some point you heard this. There's an Asian guy running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. And the first time you heard that, you were like, wow, that sounds literally too good to be true. But this is not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country, called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King was fighting for it in the 60s when he was assassinated, called it the guaranteed minimum income. And I had the privilege of sitting with Martin Luther King's son, Martin Luther King III, in Atlanta after the last debate. And he said, this is Dad's vision, and this is what he was fighting for. It was so mainstream that 1,000 economists endorsed it in the 60s, and it passed the U.S. House of Representatives twice in 1971 under Richard Nixon. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that?
Alaska.
And how do they pay for it?
Oil.
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Technology.
Technology, data, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that? How many of you have access to a Netflix password? There's a documentary called The Great Hack, and it has that study in there. How many of you got your data check in the mail last month?
No.
Where did the data checks go?
Amazon.
Amazon, Facebook, Google, the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying 0 or near 0 in taxes. Do you see the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the wild thing is that only you can rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy to work for us. That is the magic of this place. That's why I love campaigning in Iowa. That's why I've been here 23 times. That's why my wife's on a plane to join us here, because this is where the future of the country will be determined.
That's right.
It's awesome. The rest of the country, they look up and they see our government pipes clogged full of money, lobbyist cash, and they despair. They say there is nothing they can do to change it. Americans are smart. They are generally right. There is just about nothing they can do to change it. But you can, and only you can. That is the power, that is the magic. We have to create a new way forward for the rest of our country and move us in the right direction as quickly as possible. One of the reasons why things are going so wrong is that we're measuring our progress in the wrong ways. You see the headlines and what do they say? Record low unemployment, record high corporate profits. Somehow, if things aren't going well for you and your family, it must just be you. Also at record highs in the United States of America right now. Stress, anxiety, depression, mental illness, suicides, student loan debt, drug overdoses. It's gotten so bad that our life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row because drug overdoses and suicides have overtaken vehicle deaths for the first time in American history. You know the last time our life expectancy declined 3 years in a row?
The Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back a century to find another time when America's life expectancy declined 3 times in a row. It is not normal in a developed country for your life expectancy to ever decline. It ordinarily just goes up like this. So when it starts going down, you're like, okay, that's strange. And then twice is shocking. 3 is almost unprecedented. Do you want to bet where it's going to go in year number 4? These are the real problems, and we're measuring them all wrong. Even Donald Trump, the candidate, when he was running, he said this unemployment rate is bunk. You remember him saying this? Yeah. He was like, they don't talk about the fact that millions of Americans have left the workforce. And then he became president, all of a sudden the numbers became real. He was right the first time as the candidate. The headline unemployment rate is bunk. It doesn't count the fact that millions have dropped out of the workforce. It doesn't count the fact that the majority of new jobs are temp gig or contract jobs that don't have benefits. Right. It doesn't include the fact that 40 to 44% of recent college grads. I sense that there are some young people here. How many of you are college students right now? Or about to graduate? Yeah, that's beautiful. It doesn't count the fact that 40% of recent college graduates are doing a job that does not require a college degree. If you get a job that doesn't require a degree, headline unemployment rate says employed, doesn't matter what it is. It's obscuring all this weakness. We have the wrong measurements, and it's leading us off a cliff. And the example that's closest to home for me, my wife is at home with our 2 boys every day, one of whom is autistic. How much does her work count at in our current economic measurements?
0.
0. We know that's nonsense. We know the work she's doing is among the most vital and important work that anyone does. So instead of corporate profits being at record highs and our life expectancy going down, we should be measuring our progress by how we are doing. How about mental health and freedom from substance abuse?
Yes.
How about clean air and clean water? Yes. How about average student loan indebtedness? Yes. How about whether our seniors can retire, not seniors in college, whether our older Americans can retire with dignity? Yes. These are the measurements that would tell us how we're doing, and as your president, I will update GDP to these measurements for the 21st century. I will say, look, GDP is 100 years old, it's out of date, and it's time to actually measure what matters. What do you think, Iowa? Yeah! That is how we're going to win. That's how we're going to win, by trying to solve the problems that got Donald Trump elected and present a new way forward. I have family members, just like many of you do, that voted for Trump and were very excited about the outcome in 2016. I think castigating everyone who voted for Donald is wrong, because there are friends, family members, neighbors, community members, and the fact is, when tens of millions of Americans get together and say, things are so bad in DC that I'm willing to take a bet on the narcissist reality TV star, right? You have to take that message to heart. You have to say, what has happened in this country? There's a lot of truth to it. You all know that DC is the richest metro area in the country right now? Yep. What do they produce?
Nothing.
Cannabis.
Bureaucracy.
Lawlessness. Like, what do they produce?
Bad decision making.
Some of the correct answers: bad decisions, lack of accountability, nothing. I'll take them all. These are some of the things that got Donald Trump elected. He got some of the problems right. In 2016, he said he was going to make America great again, and what did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. Remember that? It's been a long 3 years. Right? That was not the right response. We have to acknowledge the depth and reality and severity of the problems, but we need solutions that will actually move us forward. Donald Trump's solutions were what? I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to turn the clock back. I'm going to bring the old jobs back. Iowa, you know we have to do the opposite. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society as quickly as possible. We have to evolve in the way we think about ourselves and our work and our value. And I am the ideal candidate for that job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. What does math stand for, Iowa?
Make America think harder.
That's right. That is your job. Iowa, we're going to make America think harder. We're going to shine a light on the real problems. And that's how we're going to let our fellow Americans know it's not left, it's not right, it's forward. That is where you are going to lead us in 2020. Yeah. Thank you all. Andrew Yang. 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 Thank you, Iowa. That was great. Do we have time for selfies? Yes. I also want to say a quick note for the young people here. Raise your hand again if you're a student.
No, I'm young.
Yo, you're young. Anyone young. You don't need to be a student. Young at heart. We have left you a disaster, and it's wrong. I will do my best to clean it up. We will do our best to clean it up, but we need your help. If you're a young person today, you should either be sad or angry, honestly. If you're not one of those two things, then you're not paying attention.
We're scared.
Scared, too. We need to fight for a future that we'll actually be proud to leave to you all.
I have the story and evidence to do that, but nobody will listen to me. Male panic dropped me in surgery and broke my neck, guys. I got my name tarnished last week at Bernie's rally. I'm speaking out today because I got all the evidence in the world to smash the system and how broken it is. Medical errors lead the country in death. And people are unaware of this because we're not covered in the media. Mayo Clinic dropped me in surgery, broke my neck. My name is Dustin Menke. Justice for Dustin's Medical Malpractices on Facebook. I have been hacked my entire digital life. It's pretty silly that I can't communicate with the world, but I got these flyers if you want to see my evidence.
All right.
Change the world if you want to listen to me. Thanks for being here, Justin.
Thank you. We have to fix it for all of us. I have seen the future that awaits you all and my kids, and it is not something I am willing to accept. That's why I'm running for president, and I'm here to say we can fix it. You should not accept it either, but we're going to have to fight for it. Are you ready to fight, Iowa? Yeah! Me too. Let's beat the University of Iowa today. I'm kidding. Kidding, I'm going to the game. I'm going to be there. I'm supposed to be neutral, but when you're here in Ames, you know. So I'm supposed to play basketball with a guy named J.D. Schulten. You know who J.D. is? So Amanda's just asked me whether I'm going to play in my dress shirt. Of course not. Are you not? I'm not going to play in this. But there was a time I was in the Midwest, and we're driving by a court, and I got out, and I did play in this stuff, and I played with a bunch of locals, and they were like, who the heck is the Asian guy in the suit? Basketball. And I have to say, I won their respect by the end.
There you go.
But if you're young, you should know that it is not your fault. The fact that sometimes we have put it on your shoulders somehow, to me, is also deeply, deeply wrong. And it's not just climate change, it's not just the student loan indebtedness, it's not just the dysfunctional government and the economy, it's the mental health crisis, it's the fact that everything revolves around the almighty dollar. We have to rewrite the rules so that they work for you. If they don't work for you, then it's not working. That should be the standard you have, especially here in Iowa, because you genuinely have the power to change the future. You're going to have to change it for the rest of your generation. And I know you won't let us down. Thank you, guys.
Iowa, you
do a selfie line here with the candidate. If we can start over here on this side of the wall, the line, single file, single file.
In our hands, put the money in our hands. The money in our hands. Put 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 the money in our hands. Can we afford it? Yes. Will it cause inflation?